We had a bet this morning about how far I would get through the day before tearing up, and it didn't take long. First of all, it's amazing. It's amazing to be here. I want to thank you, Ed, for those incredibly kind words. It is an honor of a lifetime to be introduced as your successor, but I must admit it's a little bit scary, too. To borrow Newton's phrase, we stand here today on the shoulders of giants. The modern conservative movement owes its start to individuals like Russell Kirk and Barry Goldwater, Ronald Reagan, and my dear friend Jay Parker. But it's men like Ed Feulner and Phil Trulock who took the powerful idea of conservatism and made it an American reality. When you think about it, the Heritage Foundation is so much more than the building or what we do here in Washington. Heritage is its people who are the living embodiment of the hopes and determination of millions of Americans. Americans who are driven to make this nation even better than how they found it. That's what Ronald Reagan was talking about when he said, once you begin a great movement, there's no telling where it will end. And that is Ed and Phil's legacy. Sure, giants can be intimidating, but that's not true for Ed and Phil. Okay, maybe at first. Ed has not only been our leader for 4 decades, he's been a friend and a mentor to so many of us in the conservative movement. And when this young housewife became involved in public policy over 30 years ago, it was Ed who so helped guide and shaped my path. We also know that ideas aren't much good without those who have the skill to implement them. And it was Phil who did so and whose hand can be seen everywhere we look. Thank you both. So Ed and Phil, from the bottom of my heart, I want to make a pledge to you. I know the vision and determination it takes to grow an organization the way you have. And I also know that handing over something that's this precious and this valuable is hard. So to both of you, you have my commitment that Heritage is safe with me. I'm in awe of this treasure that you've built, and I pledge to you that I will protect it and grow it with the greatest care possible. You see, the first day I stepped foot in the Heritage Foundation all those years ago, I knew then that I'd found a very special place. As it is to millions of people, heritage is many things to me. It is the single most significant force in American conservatism, the home of the most extraordinary scholars and staff I've ever met, a network of dedicated alumni who are not just a key part of the Heritage family, but a vital asset for promoting our agenda in every corner of America. A leading center for the training and expertise of the well-equipped team that's so crucial to advancing our principles and beliefs. And yes, Heritage is the living legacy and the vision of our trustees and our benefactors whose generosity support us. Their intent is and always will be honored, and their resources will continue to be shepherded wisely because what they've helped to create must and will last for generations. But Heritage stands for even more than the sum of its incredible parts. Heritage stands for its purpose, what we believe, what we develop, and what we fight for. These are the policies that help people across this great nation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm a conservative. I've seen throughout my life that freedom is the only means by which people can reach their aspirations. And that's why I also know that the principles we cherish, the ones which our founding fathers fought for, must be protected. And the fight for those principles will never, ever end. Heritage is, simply put, command central. Heritage is command central for this fight and the home of the conservative movement. It's not just a place where smart policies are made, it's where difficult problems are solved. And in the nearly 45 years since Ed and Paul Weyrich first opened the doors of the Heritage Foundation, many of those problems have been solved. And similarly, we know how crucial it is for America to have the strongest, most technologically advanced, and most effective military to defend our freedoms. And that's why we have and will continue to provide the data and research that the brave men and women who serve our country so desperately need. Here, too, Reagan had the perfect words to describe what I mean. As he put it, success in politics is about issues, ideas, and the vision we have for our country in the world. In fact, the very sum and substance of the work of the Heritage Foundation. Heritage has not only been a success here at home, it also has served as a beacon of freedom-loving people around the world. Heritage says and does to advance conservative principles and individual freedom. What it does to do that guides an international audience, much to the disdain of some world leaders. Their disdain is a badge of honor and a call to action. We will never shy away from honoring our proud legacy, and we will never stop elevating the ideal of individual freedom, most especially to all those who live under the crushing weight of totalitarianism, Marxism, and socialism. But our work isn't done because there are many problems that still must be solved. This century isn't even 2 decades old, and yet it's already confronted us with enormous challenges. Challenges that strike directly at the core principles that all of us hold so dear. We know them by heart: free enterprise, limited government, individual freedom, traditional values, and our national security. Last December, I wrote those words in a piece published by the Daily Signal. I said this: children should be thriving, but instead are living in broken homes. Poverty that should be shrinking is instead rising. Streets that should be peaceful are instead rocked by violence. Schools that should be nurturing and excellent are instead factories of failure. And seniors who deserve security instead fear what tomorrow may bring. Yes, I was writing about the Black community, but these problems can be found everywhere that liberalism has left its devastating mark: in inner cities, in Appalachia, in the Rust Belt, and in far too many white, brown, and Black communities from coast to coast. That's why the work of this extraordinary institution is so important. We're not just a bulwark against the left. We're a battleship for liberty. I thank God for the Heritage Foundation and that it exists, to guide America to renewed greatness and to take the fight to liberalism. That's why I consider it to be such an awesome privilege to serve as your next president. So to the wonderful people who are Heritage, to each and every one of you, let me pose the question that many of you are probably wondering right now. So who, in fact, is this lady who's about to take the helm? I see many old friends in the audience, and you know who I am, and you know my heart. But for the rest of you who don't, I suppose I could answer that question by reeling through some of my resume, but that would only tell you what I've done. It wouldn't tell you who I am. So let me instead answer your question by sharing a story. When I was 12 years old, I started attending an all-white middle school. To say we weren't welcome there is an understatement. Despite the Supreme Court's Brown versus Board of Education ruling, Virginia Democrats insisted on keeping the public schools segregated. So I, along with 25 other incredibly brave young Black children, tried to change that. For a while, navigating the halls in the school building meant being jeered at. It meant being stuck with pins. It meant being shoved. It meant being kicked down the steps in the school. I experienced all of that. And I can see it on some of your faces. Yes, it was awful. But I want to tell you, it was worth it. You see, I was given a great gift, the opportunity to fight for something that I believed in. And that experience changed me forever. You know what? I've never stopped fighting. I've never stopped fighting for what you win. I didn't make it through. What a gentleman. I want you to know, as I speak to you today, that I did never stop fighting, and I'm not going to stop now. During my career, my fights have been for the sanctity of human life, for education equality, for welfare reform, and to end racism in America, and much more. And today I feel like I am just getting started, because I've been given another great gift. And that gift is the opportunity to join you in the battle for the principles that we all hold so dear. And as I look around this room, I see people of immense power and talent working together. And as we continue to work together, we have the power to expand the conservative movement in a positive and an inclusive way, to recruit and join forces with millions of minorities, women, and youth who share our values, to lead the way to conservative victory here in Washington, and to put a long overdue end to the failure that is liberalism in America. And as we wage these battles, I know that there will be much that I'll need to learn from you. I intend to ask you a lot of questions, and you're going to find me a very careful listener. But you should also know that there are a few things that I already know to my core. I know that the Heritage Foundation's compass will always, always point true north. Our people will always be our greatest asset. And your policy analysis and entrepreneurship will remain the most trustworthy, dependable, and accurate in the movement. I know today, standing here, that we will shape the future, not by doing things differently, but by doing what we do well. And there will never, ever be a day when we fail to protect, preserve, and honor that very special culture that is the Heritage Foundation. That's my pledge to you. We have all been given that gift that I first received when I was 12, the opportunity to fight for what we believe in. And ladies and gentlemen, fight we will. This moment is so special. We are here right now for the same reason that drove Ed and Phil all those many years ago: to protect and preserve the principles and values of America's founding, and to build an America where freedom, opportunity, prosperity, and civil society flourish. Together, we will achieve that vision and build a future worthy of Heritage's remarkable past. And so, as we do so, I know we will also fulfill some words that have guided me personally for much of my life. On the day before he was assassinated nearly 50 years ago, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "We have an opportunity to make America a better nation, to make America what it ought to be. He was right. This is the time. Heritage is the place, and you are the ones. America needs us to do what the Heritage Foundation does best. And so, as I have learned from my dear friend and mentor, I'd like to close by saying, as Ed would say, onward.